Hey everyone, here's another Patrons Ask GN video. If you have questions for this one, as always, you can go to the Discord and post them there. There's an Ask GN channel. We'll look through it and try and pull a couple for the next episode. And also, if you aren't sure how to join the Discord and you're just hanging out on the Patreon website, do a Google search for Connect Patreon to Discord, and there's an automated way you can do that if you're curious. Okay, so the first question is from Cmoney, who says, will there be any more brands with a 2060 KO edition, or is EVGA the only AIB that will get that version of the 2060? It's a good question. By the time this video goes up, we should have part of an answer to that going up in our special deep dive on the 2060 KO, because the card, this card is actually a lot more interesting than you'd think otherwise, as you'll see in that video if you haven't already. But basically, NVIDIA, unless it changes what it's doing based on the findings, NVIDIA is currently selling, I don't know 100% how much of this we're going to talk about in the other video, but NVIDIA is basically selling two binned down versions of the TU104 die. The one we got was called TU104-150-KC. It's come to my attention that there might also be another one, but we don't have the other one, so I don't know how the performance will differ. Either way, both of them are salvage dies from 2070 Supers or from 2080s, which have been discontinued for a while. And EVGA doesn't have any special claim to those parts. NVIDIA is just salvaging them and then selling them to partners. And our understanding is that the cost is the same. So whatever partner wants to make a 2060 KO competitor, because the KO is EVGA branding, they can do it. It's just that it's a question of, will those companies be guaranteeing the presence of TU104-150, or is it going to be a lottery? That's really the question. And also, I'm kind of realizing at this point, you've posted your question. Probably no one's aware of the findings we've been working on for the last few days. So I guess really what you're really asking is, will there be other KO editions? So the phrasing KO edition is EVGA branding. I think the last time they used that was in 8800. It's probably about a decade ago that they used it. It's kind of like, they do XC, SC, SSC. That's all EVGA's branding. Another company could probably use it. I don't think they've trademarked it, but you're not likely to see that. That said, there will be that GPU on other cards. Next one is, I actually don't have the name written down for this one, but the question was, why do manufacturers mostly use 6mm heat pipes for their coolers? So a lot of it comes down, it depends on if you're talking GPU or CPU, but a lot of the time the only thing they really care about with heat pipes is how much of each heat pipe contacts the silicon. So if you have a cooler with, say, I don't know, what's this? I chose a bad one, it's got a lot of heat pipes on it. I can't count that fast. But if you use a cooler like this, where these are all 6mm heat pipes, what they're really looking for is, of these, so let's say center 3, can they get full coverage to the die area on a monolithic die, is the traditional design approach. So what you really want is, you want all of the width of this heat pipe and the next two to contact the die area. You don't want too much bleed over, and that'll make them the most effective. And typically using 6mm pipes will help with that. There's another aspect to this that I haven't talked about before, which is a concern of dry out. So because there's liquid in the heat pipes, there's a problem where if you're dealing with a higher temperature load, you could run into issues with, let's say, a Threadripper chip with an air cooler, where if you use exclusively 6mm pipes and you don't have enough thermal capacity in the cooler, ability to soak all the heat, you could run into issues where that liquid dries out and stays in a gaseous form, and then you can't get the phase change benefit of a heat pipe. So, well, it's 2080, it's not worth anything. So you'll see the difference typically in the really high thermal density parts, where they might start switching to 8mm pipes, but otherwise 6mm is cost effective and still maximizes the contact area. Next one is from dySicle, who says, please help, I'm stuck in traffic because some boy crashed. Also, any info on when the next lineup of NVIDIA GPUs are coming? Not really. I don't have anything special that you couldn't sort of figure out on your own. If you look at launch cycles, AMD and NVIDIA is a little bit harder to predict, but typically they're at about an 18-month cadence for major product launches. So this is just purely a guess, but my best guess would be maybe something like, well, second half, I would think, of the year. As for getting more specific than that, it's hard to say. My gut instinct is to say an August to October window is the most realistic. I know there's been a lot of discussion of a Computex window. The only reason I'm avoiding that one is because NVIDIA really likes to do their own thing, and they like to make all the press fly all over the world for just NVIDIA and not go to Computex and share the spotlight with all the other companies. So I kind of doubt there's going to be an NVIDIA Computex thing with like a 3080 Ti. It's possible, but it seems more likely that they maybe tease something there. In May, we'll probably start seeing some of the professional cards when they do GTC. So you might see like the new RTX 6000 series or whatever they call it, or I guess actually they already have that. Whatever they end up naming their Quadro cards after the ones that exist now, you might start seeing that pop up in May. Consumer cards, my guess is August to October window. Next one is from Murai. Yeah, Murai, who says, often when a cooler uses direct contact heat pipes, it's touted as a feature. However, do you think that it's actually just a cost-saving measure, as a copper base plate would allow for heat to be more evenly distributed to all of the heat pipes? That's a question I've seen pop up a lot lately because specifically the cooler manufacturers have changed how they're marketing their stuff. So we'll see it go back and forth where over the years, everybody's going to tweak the marketing language to benefit the product they made, obviously. So you'll see companies that make like a flat plate like this, a cold plate, brand it as advantageous because there is a central plate conducting everything that distributes it to the heat pipes. And then you'll see companies that do, is this one of them? Do that approach and call it something else. I think direct contact is trademarked by someone. I can't remember who it is, but direct contact would be an example. And either way you go, the marketing is going to be ours is the best. As for which is actually better, I can only really speak to the theory of it because we don't have a like for like cooler comparison I can do with enough test accuracy or resolution to really drill down that far. So I don't really have a great way to show it because we don't have any coolers that are 100% identical except for the plate at the bottom. And then even at that point, you'd need really accurate testing to the point where it's kind of difficult to get that resolution. So my guess is that all other things being equal, I have a feeling that doing a plate kind of like this Assassin 3 setup would be more effective. But then again, you can also start getting into discussion of, well, is it convex or concave to better fit the AMD or the CPU, the Intel IHS, at which point that might start mattering more. So there's a lot of marketing involved in it, but my answer is that probably going with like this Contact 12 approach, where it's just heat pipes exposed to the IHS, is a cost-saving measure for sure, and I would think that it's less effective. Next one is from, also Murai actually, who said, would you consider testing the XFX Thicc III Pro to see if they fix the issues with the original Thicc II cooler design? Is there, oh yeah, there's another one. So there's a Thicc III Pro and a Thicc III. We have the XFX Thicc III that came out immediately after the Thicc II, and I just got XFX to send us the new memory plate for the XFX Thicc II. So I want to test them. It was supposed to originally happen like 3 months ago, and at that point when I got the cards in, you looked at our video catalog for the month, and it was 50% 5700 XT coverage, at which point I was like, all right, this is enough, and it doesn't really matter that much. They shouldn't have made such a bad card to begin with. So I do want to test it. It's just a question of when, and also if I can get that Pro version in. And then the last one is from Krypt, who said, are you able to include Ffmpeg transcodes in your CPU benchmarks? The answer to are you able to in this instance is yes, we are able to. The harder question is how do we build that benchmark, because not all files will transcode the same way. Just like Premiere, you need multiple projects to really get a full scope of how the performance looks. We'd have to do some research on Ffmpeg to make sure we're creating a benchmark that is sort of that you can extrapolate from to any use, as opposed to just a one-off. Like with our compile testing, we sort of accidentally created a cache benchmark, so that's not really super useful outside of that one scenario. And at that point, you don't even need benchmarks. You just look at which one has more cache and it wins. So we're revamping all of the CPU testing methodology actively. It's been going on. Typically January is when we start doing that. So it's all being overhauled. I think I have Handbrake on the list of things I'm interested in using. And I think that's basically a wrapper for Ffmpeg, but feel free to correct me. And it's on the list, so it might happen. We also have some other stuff on there, like going back to researching compile testing to find something more accurate. So that's it for this one. Thanks for asking the questions. Post them on the Discord if you have more. And then we should have full episodes on the main channel as well if you're interested in that stuff. It's going to be a bit more mainstream topics for those. And I'll see you all next time.